All right, man. Welcome to another episode of Subtopic. I'm your host, Subtopic, and let's check this out, man.
All right, but you've probably seen this video from the Coldplay concert of CEO Andy Byron's, and we should say his name, of a company called Astronomer, and a lady that he was being intimate with at this Coldplay concert by the name of Kristen Cabot. Of course, not his wife. If you haven't seen this video yet, it's going thermonuclear viral right now.
Yes, it is.
Watch this.
Yeah. Oh, look at these two. All right, come on. You're okay? Go.
I gotta be honest, man. Like, imagine if, like, you're the wife of that guy, and this is how you find out that this is going on. And what's even crazier is that people at the company are complicit. But I'll get back to that in a bit too, because apparently I heard that the guy took all the work staff, to this concert. And when you work with people, right, if they're married or etc., right, you get to know a little bit about them. So this is very interesting, man. This is pretty sad. Now, as a Coldplay fan myself, I'm a very big fan of Coldplay. It's crazy that this happened, at a Coldplay concert.
Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
So here's essentially the facts, and I have a lot of thoughts on this. So they were doing a funny kiss cam in between songs. They found a couple in the stands who was cozied up to each other, and as soon as the camera hit them, they both freaked out. As you saw, the guy ducked down below the camera, and she walked away out of shame. It's a very important word, shame. We're going to dive into this. Now, the lead singer of Coldplay, Chris Martin, goes, oh, they're probably either having an affair or they're incredibly shy. And turns out Chris Martin was right. They were having an affair. Andy Byron's the CEO of the company, and the lady of head of HR, Kristen Cabot, of the tech company. So Byron has a wife and 2 teenage sons. His wife has now taken her last name off of Facebook. So
Nice.
There's a ton of material here. The first of which is as soon as the camera was put on them, their behavior changed. Why?
Yeah, well, why? Because they felt shame, because they knew they were doing something wrong, right? You don't turn away, right, if you're not in the wrong. Maybe if you're ignorant about it, you would have just proceeded your day as regular, right? You wouldn't have reacted the way that you reacted. But when you have shame and you're convicted yourself, right, based on moral principles, that is how you react, right? I know I don't see, maybe a sociopath or psychopath wouldn't even care, maybe. But in this case, for the most part, people that feel and have emotions and stuff, this is how you would react. So that's just simple. It's what you would expect. Shocking would have been, that they would have kissed, on camera. That would have been a very powerful move, man. The dynamics of the conversation would have been very different, right? But this is just how it is.
Well, because their sin was being made public.
Exactly.
That's why. Because they actually knew what they were doing was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
If Eric and I would be at a Coldplay concert, which I would be rather caught dead than be at a Coldplay concert. I would rather go to a WNBA game than go to a Coldplay concert.
Really?
Couldn't think of something more boring and banal and a waste of time. But it's fine. It's a free society. Do whatever you want.
I'm shocked, man. I'm shocked. They're not a bad band at all, And a lot of their messages are, even if they won't admit it, they are Christian messages in their lyrics, right? I suggest, Charlie Kirk, paying attention to the lyricism in their music. You'll see. You'll see. There's a Lights Will Guide You Home is one. What's that one? I don't know the name of the song. Yellow is another one. There's a whole bunch of songs they have, what's the Viva La Vida is another one. So
Eric and I went to a Coldplay concert and they showed us on the video camera. I guess we would smile. I'd be more worried that a lib would come and yell at me, but it wouldn't be embarrassing. But isn't it interesting? They knew what they were doing was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And when sins are allowed to happen in the shadows, you act a certain way. But all of a sudden,
when I was in pharmacy school, man, there was this guy who was a veteran, and he made a pretty good point one time. He said, who are you when no one is around? Who are you when no one is looking, right? That's very profound, very very profound. And in this case, right? Well, they thought they were not gonna get caught, right? To be honest, to do this to a person, right? When you've established trust and feelings and emotions, right, with your partner, and to be betrayed like this, to lose the sense of trust, right? Um, this scars people, and they don't trust again, right? There might be, well, I'm sure there is a better man that will come along the way, right? But she won't trust him because of what this guy did to her, right? Especially the husband of the girl here involved, that HR chick, right? Her husband is the same thing. Another woman will come along, a good Christian woman, right, with morals, values, and ethics, right? But he won't trust again because this is what you do to people, to innocent people who are caught in the crossfire of because of nonsense, and because of stupid choices. And it's good that this came out into the light, man, because for how long had this been going on, right? For how long was this happening? It sucks for the people, right? And I feel that for the whole thing sucks, man. Honestly.
You feel as if, or if you know you are being watched, your behavior changes. Now, let me just first talk about adultery. We need to make adultery shameful again. Way too many people cheat on their spouses. We put up with this way too much in our society. Adultery should be shamed not because we are cruel, but because it tears at the very fabric that holds families and communities together. It's not.
And I would go a step further, Charlie. I would say there should be classes to get married. Like, not just anybody should be allowed to get married. I view marriage as a covenant, right? Between the significant other, God, and death, right? So this is the covenant that is formed, right? And I bring death in because till death do us part, right? Only death has the power to separate what God has joined together. You know what I mean? So when you cheat the contract or that covenant, right? Well, now you've overstepped death, right? You've overstepped the bounds. You're not honoring the covenant, right? So what is death going to do, right? One or the other parties is going to, or both, right? They'll ruin themselves, and that's what happens in a lot of cases with this. So I think that there should be classes to get married. I think people need to know what it is about, that it's a godly thing, right? If we need to take tests to get our driver's licenses, there should be a test to get married because it's a very serious engagement. It's not just a let's do this for fun, and it is between a man and a woman also. So.
Not a private matter. It leaves children wounded, spouses betrayed, and society more cynical about love, loyalty, and commitment. If we truly believed in God, an all-seeing holy judge who calls us to righteousness, we wouldn't treat adultery as a mistake, but as a violation of sacred vows made before him. We should confront it with the gravity it deserves. That is a breaking of the covenant, and done so publicly. But it gets even deeper than this. This Byron guy, let me say his name again because he deserves to be totally shamed. This guy is a complete disgrace. Let me see. What is this guy's name? Byron. It was all the way up here. Andy Byron is his name. Yeah, Andy Byron's or Andy Byron. Andy Byron deserves to be shamed because not only did he cheat on his wife in public, but he did so in a work relationship in a company that he oversees.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. So this is where I wanted to get back to this, right? So I used to work at a hospital, and it sucks, man. It sucks, right? You don't want to get involved with anything like, honestly, just go in, do your 9 to 5, 8 to 5, whatever you're in there for, do your time, get out. Don't engage. Your coworkers are not your friends. They will backstab you at every chance that they get because everybody's trying to climb the ladder, the corporate ladder. So just go in, you do your time, come out, thank God that you have a job, and that's it. Leave what is at work, leave it at work, and what is at home, leave it at home, and do not mix the two, right? My experience when working at the hospital is there was a lot of affairs going on, and it sucked, man. It sucked seeing the husband or the wife, come in to have lunch with their significant other, their spouse, at the hospital, right? Because they have like a lunch area there, and it sucked to see them, and clueless because you knew that they were having an affair with radiology department or respiratory department, right, or whatever, right? They're at the hospital, sir. So inside the building, they were engaging in deviant acts, let's say. So it sucks. It eventually everything will be brought out to the light eventually. But it's a very dangerous. It's very dangerous to get involved, man. So my experience was dealing with that. Thank God I never got involved because it would have been too easy. Hey, man, your wife is cheating on you with this guy, right, or whatever. My advice is anybody watching, don't get involved. Just go in, do your time, get out. Don't get involved with your coworkers again. Don't go out to lunch with them. Don't be friends with them, etc. Pick your friend, pick them carefully. Vet them through the spirit of discernment, right? You'll know their fruits, right? You'll know them by their fruits. So be very careful if you do.
And you see in the video they both dash away. How would you behave if you felt that somebody was always watching you? What would you do if you felt as if you were always being watched?
Well, that's the thing, right? If there was an ultimate stalker, God would be it, because all eyes are His and all ears are His. So, behind the veil, watching and listening to everything that's going on, even your thoughts, the Bible says that He knew you before you were even born, right? So, it is. I guess a lot of when I was a little kid, I'll be honest, this used to be a big fear of mine. And when I would mess up, I would feel really, really bad, to the point of, asking for forgiveness, But somewhere along the way, I lost that, and I've since then gained that again, right? Now, that doesn't mean that I'm perfect, right? I still fall every day. I am a man after all. I sin just like everybody else. I'll be the first one to admit, man, I'm a sinner, right? But every day I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to I fall and I get back up, and that's all I can do, right? Because without Jesus, I'm nothing, and that's just how it is. If I was doing this on my own, it would be really, really hard.
Well, that's how we Christians should behave.
Yeah.
Because we believe that God is always watching us, that God is always judging us. What you saw on full display, it's far deeper than, by the way, the memes are hilarious. They deserve to just be totally their reputation should be wrecked. They should have to repent. These people are like the lowest of the low. To go to a Coldplay concert when you have 2 teenage boys at home and you have a wife, it's low. But let's go even deeper. How would you act if you felt as if you were on camera and somebody was watching your behavior? When you think about it, that is completely indistinguishable than what we actually believe as Christians. We as Christians believe that there is a holy God that is watching us. Do you know that there have been studies to show that in an operating room, for example, if they even put 2 eyes up on the wall, that people's behavior changes, people treat each other better? If people think they are being watched, and I'm not arguing for a surveillance state, I'm talking...
Yeah, when I was a 7th grade mathematics teacher and I would leave the room, they would get wild. My students would get wild. Start throwing papers, start, a mess. And then as soon as there was always a scout, and they'd say, "Here comes the sir," right? As soon as I walked in, everybody's just sitting quiet, with those guilty eyes, like we didn't do anything, but the evidence pointed to otherwise. And I'm like, well, how did this get here, right? How is all these papers here on the ground, and these paper airplanes, right? All these markers on the floor, right? It wasn't like this when I left, So it's a good point. This guy's making good points, man.
About the moral. Do you believe that there is a God that looks at everything that you do? Andy Byron and his chief HR chief, that makes it even worse, his HR chief, Kristen Cabot, did not believe that there was a God always watching them. But as soon as the world decided to look at them, they went away in shame. Everybody, the lesson is this. For any of you, and for us that are dealing with sins, should it take the rest of the world to publicly see us to change our behavior? Or should it necessarily be enough that we believe there is a God that is looking at us? What makes it even worse is all the people that were in the box alongside of it. There were people in the box. There was something called like the chief people officer or something. This guy ran a heck of a company, I got to tell you. And they were quietly signing off on this. This is the second lesson. Are you quietly signing off on somebody else's sin? Are you quietly signing off on somebody else's adultery?
Well, so now,
Are
and
you
so
in-
so these are good questions. So I wouldn't suggest going to the other partner and just. I would suggest getting with that person one on one. You know, and just letting them know, like, hey man, I don't appreciate that this is going on. Because if it ever comes out that this is that they find out, you're gonna come to us or you're gonna come to me and you're gonna say, well, you were the only other one who knew, and it's gonna be my fault and etc. Right? So it's a tricky situation. Not quietly signing off on it. It it's very hard, man. It is difficult. It depends on the level of trust you have, communication with that person. You can just casually slip it in. Just hey, just quit it. Stop doing this, right? Like, don't do this anymore. But again, if you don't get involved, I don't see that there is anything wrong with that. Unless they come to you for advice, right? And they say, hey, like I'm married and I'm going out with the HR chick or whatever, and I don't know how to handle this. What should I do, right? Then at that point you can get involved, right? If they're coming you genuinely with advice, that would be the best thing to do, is to then answer truthfully, right? But other than that, I do not recommend getting involved.
in your life. I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to try to lift you to a better place. Do you know somebody that's committing adultery right now? And are you covering up for it? Do you know it? Well, stop doing that. Stop being friends with people that commit adultery.
It's a tricky situation, man. It's a very tricky situation. So, it again, right? If they come to you for advice, then at that point, get involved. It's not necessarily a cover up. You're just there waiting for the door to be open, and once that door is open, then you can say your piece, right?
Hour.
And adultery is without a doubt one of the least talked about of the 10 Commandments. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall have no idols. You shall not take the Lord's name in vain, or you shall not carry the Lord's name in vain. You shall remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. I have an entire book coming out on this. You shall honor your mother, so you may live long in the land of which you are in. You shall not steal. You shall not, I think the 7th is actually adultery. You shall not take adultery. You shall not give false testimony. You shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony. Thou shalt not covet, thou shalt not murder. That's out of order, but that is the 10. Out of the 10, though, adultery is one of the least talked about. We've kind of decided to put up with it. Oh, it's okay, it's fine. Their marriage is falling apart. No, that is a covenantal relationship.
Exactly.
Between your spouse and God. What makes a contract different than
Well, between your spouse, God, and death, as I mentioned, right? So,
a covenant? A covenant does not have an end date. A covenant is within 3 parties. A contract's within 2 parties. A covenant is that within before God. A covenant is a triangular relationship. A contractual relationship is just a horizontal relationship. Covenantal involves something vertical. And Andy Byron and his HR chief, Kristen Cabot, some people say, oh, give them their privacy. No. If you cheat on your wife, you should not be given privacy. And for all of us that are married, we should know that this would be the downfall of everything that is beautiful and good if you decide to do something as horrendous and unspeakably immoral as that. Apparently, there's text groups and chains of former employees. Everyone's laughing their tail off and enjoying the heck out of what happened and him getting exposed. But honestly, imagine how difficult this is for his wife right
exactly, man. And not just his wife, the girl's husband, too.
What he just did to his wife is sick. He deserves, he has to own up for that, not make excuses, and I think he's been totally silent on this. So, the memes are just hilarious right now. I could read it. And by the way, we should make fun of this. This is one of the few things that has united the internet. And honestly, it's given me a little bit of hope in humanity. Do you know why? Even the internet, in all of its wretched, disgusting secularism that has infected the internet, even the internet agrees that adultery is wrong. When it is exposed, even the internet agrees that portion of the 10 Commandments is wrong. No, everyone's making fun of them. Good, you should. Everyone is shaming them. You absolutely should.
And you should, but at the same time, if we are Christians, right, we cannot be judging others, that is not our place. Not yet, anyway. Not until that day comes, right, where we will judge even the angels. It says in one of the letters that Paul writes to one of the churches, right? In this case, it's if the guy repents, right, and this is a conversation that he would have to have with the All Father, uh, that is between them, you know, us out here, right? We look at it and it's a sad situation, like. You're a CEO, dude, and you have a wife and you have kids and everything, right? And you're gonna throw it all away over a pterodactyl, man. You're gonna throw all that away over a home wrecker, and that's what happened here. So again, I'll go back and say, there should be classes for this, and I think there should be men's seminars. I think there should be more outreach to men, shape men to become husbands. Shape women and mold them to become wives, get them ready for this, and take that test, if you're ready for this, what it involves, what it is about, but as far as making fun of this guy, I don't agree with it too much. I don't see Jesus making fun of anybody, right? If Jesus was here looking at this situation, they brought him a whore, Charlie. They brought him a whore, caught in the act, and they told him, the law commands us to stone such a woman, right? And Jesus decided not to. He told her, go and sin no more. That was the command, like, you're forgiven, right? Today you're not this anymore. Go and sin no more, right? So, if we are Christians, right, this should be our place to kind of be the same, not be casting stones here. Now, I do agree with, that there is hope, right? That even society sees that it is wrong, because it is wrong. But we're not going to make fun of individuals or, cast stones like that. There should be other kind of outreach, hey man, like this happened to you, I suggest talking to this pastor, I suggest talking to this minister, there's classes for this, let's get involved, let's turn this around, why did this happen, I examine that, what led to this, what was going on, what was it, just one day, examine the thing thoroughly, man. Why did you decide to engage in this, right? Then we can, begin to solve some problems. But if we're just going to just condemn, like that, and not even doing a thorough investigation, right, to get to the root cause of the issue, well, it just kind of throws everything down the drain, right? And you can't tell me that it's because, guys are that's all they think about is, I don't think so, man. Because if that was true, you wouldn't take somebody to a Coldplay concert and spend, you would just do it. You would just, if that was the case, right? So here there was something else going on. And that's what the question that should be asked.
And by the way, if he asks for forgiveness, that's a whole separate bridge to cross. It better be, first of all, there's only one person he has to ask for forgiveness from. That's from his wife, and we'll see what happens. I think they've already filed for divorce. Yeah. There's a lot of fake news around this, by the way. Is there someone, Cabot and, Cabot, the HR director, and Thornby filed for divorce in 2018, then split in 2022. According to Massachusetts. Somebody says, and I just love this, Coldplay hasn't made a single in years. Last night, they made 2.
Nice.
I think that's hilarious. I didn't come up with that. By the way, I find Coldplay music very hard to listen to. But that's a whole separate... I'm not here to bash on Coldplay. In fact, honestly, Coldplay has just done something very good for humanity. Much better than other unlistenable music. It's much better than that. And you know what it is? What Coldplay has done is Coldplay has united the internet, that even though we can't agree on so many of the controversial social issues and social topics, that we can agree that you shall not cheat on your spouse, that you shall not commit adultery. And guess what? Andy Byron and Kristen Cabot knew that. Let's just rewatch that video one more time. Rewatch the video, how quickly they scatter away from the camera. Watch. You see how quickly they scatter away from the camera, and the other girl is like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. They know. How many of you right now are involved in a repeated secret sin that you would go like that if it was made public? Not too late to repent, not too late to stop it. How many of you guys would act like that if all of a sudden your spouse walked in and you were doing something, or they found out that you were violating a covenant? Don't do that. Let this be a lesson that, yes, we should delight in the fun, humorous moment here. But this is wrong. How would you act if all of a sudden you would end up on a Jumbotron? Act in a way that you could smile when you go up on a Jumbotron in front of 20,000 people. Not that you have to run away in shame. God bless you guys. Get our latest shirt, the Rush Was Right shirt, or Charlie Kirk's.
That was a good point. So yeah, a lot of good points by Charlie in this synopsis, if you will, this analysis. So yeah, man, let me know what you all think in the comments about this situation. Right, I'm pretty sure the whole internet, as Charlie's saying, is buzzed with this news. I didn't want to jump too much into it because there was already a lot of attention. So now I'm a little bit not late to the game, but now I'm getting to it now that not a lot of people are talking about it. So let me know if it was you, how you would have reacted, and let me know if the questions are genuine, the ones I'm asking. Right, what led to this? Why did this happen? What was going on? What did that CEO? What was his thought process? Those are the questions that we should be asking. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification, hit a like. Let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see y'all in the next one, man. Peace.